Good evening and thank you for being with us. Some sweeping changes are coming to social assistance in Ontario thanks to the Doug Ford government. And among the casualties is the Basic Income Program, which was launched here in Thunder Bay as a pilot project by the former Liberal government. Social Services Minister Lisa MacLeod announced the move this afternoon.
While we're working on our new plan, on compassionate grounds, we're going to raise rates by 1.5% across the board to help those with the cost of living. This will replace the patchwork of handouts and regulatory changes that were included in the Liberals' final days. We're also going to wind down the Ontario Basic Income Research Project, which is clearly not the answer for Ontario families.
The pilot project started last year. 1,000 people in the Thunder Bay area got their first basic income checks in April 2017. Eligible participants would receive around $17,000 a year for a single person and up to $24,000 for a couple, minus 50% of any earned income. Local anti-poverty officials are rejecting the government move. Social researcher Bonnie Crisawati says the basic income program may not have been lifting people out of poverty, but it was making a difference.
Scrapping that program and investigating raises in social assistance is not the solution. We know that social assistance rates would have to be raised by about 40% to really equate to what today's standards are for income. The Ford government is saying, well, we'll raise social assistance rates by 1.5% to start off with, and that's just not acceptable. That doesn't help lift people out of poverty.
The government has given itself 100 days to develop a new and sustainable social assistance program. MacLeod wouldn't say how the Basic Income Project would be eliminated, but she insists the government will end the program ethically for anyone currently enrolled. Provincial police say a 55-year-old Aylmer, Ontario man has been killed in a tractor-trailer crash on Highway 17. Police say the tractor-trailer unit went off the highway after the driver lost control last night, rolling over and ending up in a ditch about 30 kilometers west of Ignace. James Duchesne was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of the collision is still under investigation. It's a strike that's impacted many in Thunder Bay. And last night, City Council heard from Unifor representatives about the ongoing pickets at the Port Arthur Health Centre. As Tony Brar reports, it was an emotional night for the employees as Council agreed to lend their support.
It's been an emotional 3.5 months. 65 medical workers on strike seeking adequate living wages.
Maybe they want to starve us out. That's the way it's looking right now. They might be thinking that, oh, we're just going to bust the union.
That emotion was brought to Council with representatives of Unifor Local 229 reaching out to councillors for support.
You are the leadership of the city, and we would ask that you provide some moral leadership and encourage and do whatever you can to ask the Port Arthur Clinic to go back to the table and negotiate with Unifor.
And members of Unifor emotional in their ask to pass a motion that encourages both parties to come together and negotiate in good faith, something Unifor feels has been missing.
We are looking at charges at the board against the employer for bargaining in bad faith, because on its face, if you refuse to even sit down and negotiate, how can it be said that you're bargaining in good faith?
Unifor did confirm that Port Arthur Health Centre has been using replacement workers during the strike. However, they cannot confirm the rate of pay or working schedules. But for Council, the decision was unanimous, passing a resolution asking both sides to recommence bargaining a new collective agreement.
It certainly had an impact on our corporation, the minimum wage increase, so I think we should pass this unanimously.
And I certainly want to recognize all the red shirts that are in the gallery. Being out for the number of months that you've been out is, well, you could tell by the video.
It was a decision that pleased many in attendance. Unifor seeing it as a small win in what still is the big picture. Tony Brar, TBT News.
The 2018 second quarter budget variance report was also presented to Council last night, and for the third straight year, the books are projected to be in the black. Administration revealed that city operations supported by taxes are expected to see a surplus of about $2 million by year end. That number represents less than 1% of the approved $252 million budget. This latest favorable balance prompted McIntyre councillor Trevor Grutuka to bring up the idea of lowering taxes for property owners across the city of Thunder Bay.
We tell the constituents we want this much money, we need this much money to provide the services for the year. And if we have a favorable balance, and then we turn around and say we're going to keep this money just in case. And I know we have built up our reserves to a certain degree, and we need some reserves. But I mean, every year at some point, I think we should be giving that money back to the residents. If we don't utilize it to provide the services we promised, and I think we're collecting it under false pretenses that way. So.
About $1.2 million of the forecasted year-end variance is related to staff vacancy savings, which include retirements and other turnover. Also last night, Council unanimously approved a site development contract for the waterfront area south of Prince Arthur's Landing. The goal is to clean up the shoreline around the tugboat basin and make it more presentable and accessible for the public. That's the area where the new waterfront art gallery is planned to be built. The road that leads to Pool 6 site will also be realigned to run parallel to the railway tracks. Bruno's Contracting was awarded the $1.5 million contract. Their bid was the lowest of the 5 companies who applied for the project. The work will include the relocation of utilities and the creation of a stormwater management feature. A note to drivers on the south side of Thunder Bay, a section of Vickers Street is now closed to all traffic. The road closure began this morning. North Vickers Street between Cameron and Finlayson Street is being dug up for sewer and water main construction. The project's expected to take up to 4 weeks to complete. Motorists are asked to use alternate routes and follow posted detour signage in the area. And residents in that neighborhood are also being asked to use extra caution when traveling around the construction area. The forest fire situation across the Northwest continues to grow worse. 16 new fire starts were reported yesterday, bringing the number of active fires across the region to 111. Of those, 28 are not under control, 10 are being held, and 63 are being observed. The most critical area remains around Kenora, where conditions are said to be extreme. MNRF officials say their resources continue to be strained by the large numbers they're dealing with. Meanwhile, in the Northeast, there is no let-up either. A large fire near Parry Sound continues to threaten the Trans-Canada Highway. Kellum Roja reports.
So overnight, we didn't see much growth on Parry Sound 33, with the fire still sitting at around 9,000 hectares today, much the same as it was yesterday. But what we did see was movement as the fire continues to inch closer to the busy Highway 69, which of course is an important part of the Trans-Canada Highway that connects Sudbury ultimately to Toronto and many points in between. So the fire still inching closer to that highway, which for now remains open, although Ontario Provincial Police are monitoring the fire situation very closely, and they say they will shut down the highway if it becomes unsafe to drive on or if the fire gets too close, although they don't have a set number for what would trigger a shutdown. But still today, heavy smoke along the entire route, especially around the French River area. On my drive into the area today, the smoke was as heavy as I've seen it yet in the week and a half that I've been covering Parry Sound 33. So still posing a hazard for drivers, and certainly the air quality in the area is not good. Now, the biggest concern right now is keeping the fire at bay so that it doesn't cross the highway. If that happens, there is a lot more people on the east side of the highway than on the west, a lot more cottages, structures, and businesses. So right now, that's the focus of the 200 or so firefighters that are on this blaze, keeping that fire at bay, keeping it from advancing. But of course, the conditions are still working against them. These ongoing dry conditions with very sporadic rain and heavy winds continue to blow that fire northeast towards this highway. Now today, we do have an evacuation alert for the town of Albin, which is near this area around French River. That's just an alert, meaning that residents should be able to leave at a moment's notice within 24 hours at the very least. But again, as that fire continues its course towards the highway, which we anticipate it will again today, many more people will likely be placed on alert, or we could see increased evacuations.
Back to Queen's Park for a moment, and it has been a raucous day in the Ontario legislature. The Speaker had to call a recess after tensions flared, and even then, things were still very heated. Premier Doug Ford accused opposition House Leader Gilles Bisson of mocking the accent of a PC member. an accusation Bisson denied. Here's how it went down. Ag drop number 7.
The Leader of the Opposition and the Premier will come to order. I'm going to recess the House for 5 minutes.
What we're choosing not to do is respond to questions from the official opposition because they are mocking a member of our government caucus, a very proud Pakistani Canadian.
You know me, I've been in this legislature as long as you. That's not who I am. I understand all about accents. Je suis francophone. And it's just, to me, a very offensive thing for the government to try to change channels on question period to answering questions about something I never did.
A PhD student at Lakehead University is conducting research that could one day help women reduce the risk of postpartum depression. Clinical psychology PhD candidate Carly Pope presented her most recent findings at LU today. They focus on the benefits of mindfulness by pregnant women in combating postpartum depressive symptoms. Mindfulness is the act of paying attention to moment-by-moment present experiences in a non-judgmental way. Pope says 30 to 75% of women experience postpartum blues, and 10 to 15% are at risk of developing postpartum depression. Her work is supported by Mental Health Canada, or Mental Health Research Canada. She says her research aims to break down the stigma associated with mental illness.
If we don't talk about these things and women don't feel like they can seek help for it, they don't feel like they can talk to other women and find out that they're also having these experiences. The more that we talk about it and the more research that's done, the better we can find out, or the more that we can find out the best ways in order to support women.
Treatment around it is after the fact. This is more about getting in front of the problem, and something that is, it's not drug-based. You can be able to do it in your own home. You can be trained to learn how to do this mindfulness.
Pope is currently recruiting participants for the community-based program. She will then follow them until they are 12 weeks postpartum to determine the potential benefits of the program. Well, Paramount Theatre is set to unveil its latest production. It's a murder mystery, which combines two of England's most popular exports, the Beatles and the iconic TV show Downton Abbey.
I say go, go, go!
Downton Abbey Road is a historical piece surrounding the wealthy Crawley family and their servants, set to the songs of the Fab Four. The story focuses on a usual evening at the manor until a surprise guest arrives. With the focus shifting from the downstairs staff to the rich homeowners, the cast and crew say they're confident the play will keep the crowd entertained throughout.
Whenever you do a summer show like this, your greatest hope for the audience is that for 2.5 hours, they can step outside of their busy lives and just disappear into another world and have fun, enjoy themselves, make great memories, and walk away humming a tune and laughing at memories of some great jokes.
Downton Abbey Road opens tonight and will be presented every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday until August 16th. Well, today marks the end of July, and according to Environment Canada, it has been much warmer and drier than normal for the month. The hot weather may seem like a blessing for kids and campers, but the District Health Unit is reminding people to be aware of the risks of overheating and sun exposure. Corey Nordstrom has that story.
It has been a particularly warmer than usual month of July. The daytime high for the month was an average of 25.7 degrees Celsius, over a full degree more than the usual 24.2. The hot weather has people flocking to watering holes and doing a number of activities to enjoy the few months of heat that we get.
Well, we've had a great time with the warm weather. We rented bikes and had a long bike ride yesterday. Then we had our family member take us up the Cam River in a boat, and it was beautiful.
Yep, and today we're here enjoying the water and having a picnic.
Playing soccer with my brothers and playing on the trampoline and doing lots of other things.
What about you?
I like going golfing with my dad and doing backflips on the trampoline.
I like going swimming. I like going swimming. I like going to overnight camps, and I like golfing with my grandpa and my grandma.
But spending all that time under the sun can be harmful to your body, especially in the peak hours of 11 to 5. Thunder Bay District Health Unit nurse Lynn Saramaki explains the symptoms of heat-related illnesses.
Someone that's got heat exhaustion will have some maybe nausea, vomiting, they might faint, they might feel really tired, kind of a little dazed and confused.
For those people whose jobs require them to spend hours in the sun, they have many ways to stay cool.
I have to stay hydrated all throughout the day, put sunscreen on, reapplying every hour. I got my hat on to keep sun off my head because that's the worst thing, getting a hot head.
Children and the elderly are especially vulnerable to the heat, so staying hydrated is key to temperature regulation. But Sarah Mackey wants to be clear. Water is the best source of hydration.
Plenty of water, not alcohol, not iced tea or sugared beverages. Water is probably one of the best things that you can do.
The warmer weather trend is expected to continue throughout the month of August. Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Well, I'm one of the people who are out there enjoying the sunshine and the heat, but